Yeah, there's just a number of different things I would want to kind of just talk about briefly today. Um, the first being that there's a faculty within the human, the heart mind, which what the early church fathers called the Nous. Um, and this Nous has also played a major role in the Gospel of Mary Magdalene, which when Mary Magdalene asked Jesus, what do we see through? Is it our spirit, our pneuma, or is it our soul, our psyche? And Jesus answers her, it is neither by pneuma nor by psyche that you see these visions, but actually it's by Nous. The Nous was this metaphysical concept that deals with the apparatus within our consciousness that is awareness, but not just awareness, but the awareness of love. It's the awareness of being, and it's a heart awareness. It's not just an intellectual or like a mental awareness, but it's a heart mind awareness. So this Nous is a fundamental aspect of our being, and it plays a major role in that aspect that we talk about in Christianity, being seated in heavenly places. That aspect, plays a major role in that arena, in that dimension of reality. But in addition to this aspect within us, what we are seeing is that the aspect or the nature of truth, which exists within the higher realms of divine energy that produce the sort of realities that cascade or fold, the infinite realities that cascade or fold from the divine being. But this higher intensity of this energy produces what we call truth, and this truth merges with Nous. Nous and truth are married to each other. They're one and the same. They have union, you could say, with one another. So when you're in your Nous, you can see truth, and when you actually see truth, it means that you're perceiving from your Nous, from your heart mind. So this aspect of us is increasing in the etheric realm, and also in these different, let's call them, subtle realms of our being. And it's happening collectively in the planet. And the collective let's say dance, the collective emergence, the collective eruption that is taking place, that is causing, a whole host of sort of reactions by people as their Nous is actually just by proxy of certain systems created by higher beings. It's starting to take off and increase within each individual. Now what happens as this thing begins to take off is there's a restructuring of reality that takes place, a deconstruction that begins to take place, and that's why you have so many Christians deconstructing on one level, but then on another level so many Christians reconstructing and trying to re-understand what is going on. And it's because all of these sort of parameters that were passed down to us from generation to generation, these parameters of thinking, these parameters of understanding are being broken down. And they're not being broken down because of evil, they're being broken down because they're not going to serve us moving forward, and they're not going to serve us moving forward because they're not true. So that which is true is eternal and will continue to move with us. And even though the things are living in that space, truth will continue to vibrate and, let's say, cause ripples upon all dimensions of reality at any given time. So anything that doesn't vibrate with it will eventually degenerate. So what we're experiencing is this radical shift, this radical reconfiguration of our awareness of so many different things and so many different topics. And it can be a very frightening place for people to be. And because it's extremely challenging. And you do feel like you're moving outwards from a sort of, let's say, safe place into something that's new. But Christ is, causing, through the Holy Spirit, with the Holy Spirit, is causing this noose eruption to take place. And through this noose eruption, you're going to get restructuring of reality. Now, at the turn of each age, you have this sort of influx of it. We had it 2,000 years ago, and we are having it now as we move from the age of Pisces into the age of Aquarius. And one of the downsides of the age of Pisces is this sort of disillusionment, this sort of veil over a sense of us, of what is reality, and a lot of the structures of our so-called world have supported these so-called veils, ignorantly and knowingly. Some ignorantly, some knowingly. And some of it served us, and some of it, it's going away. But one of the things with Age of Pisces, as we're ending it, is this sort of confusion, and we're seeing more and more of this sort of uncomfortableness, you could say, with reality. This sort of, seeing it, maybe this is just not real, so on and so forth. But it is relatively real. Every realm is relatively real to the reality that you're in. So it's not that it's not real, it's just that, is this the only thing that is real? And the answer is no. Or is this my experience of it the real, most real way I can experience it? And the answer obviously is no, but it's relatively real to the reality that you're experiencing it based on the sort of mechanistic default program and biochemistry that's taking place inside your physical being as it is currently right now. So one of the things Age of Aquarius is going to bring in is going to bring us tools and understanding, tools for understanding that is going to help us get out of this sort of confusion that we're currently in. Now, one of these tools is the reemergence of the Nous, that again the Church Fathers were so heavily bent on us developing, and even where it says you have the mind of Christ, is you have the Nous of Christ. So the Nous is the heart mind, and this thing is laid dormant because we haven't really developed our beings very much. I'm speaking from a Christian Western strand, especially Protestant evangelical strand, an American version especially. We haven't developed our being. We haven't even begun to understand our consciousness. Even just saying the word consciousness will offend a fundamentalist, even though it's the very thing that is taking place inside of them for them to be offended by. But these sort of things are, so the Nous is emerging, and which means that our ability to discern is going to get stronger, not worse. It's actually going to get stronger. But the difficult thing is that we have to learn to trust our actual discernment. We have to learn to trust our actual intuition. We have to actually begin to trust our actual being as this thing is developing, and as this thing is reemerging inside of us, and as we learn ways to continue to open it. So one of the things I'm going to do soon is I'm going to do a class on the development of the Nous. So just kind of, keep an eye out for that on Ruach, probably in the next month to 2 months, something like that, or within the next 3 months probably. I'm going to do a class on the development of the nous, but because this is one of the faculties within us that is going to help us map and understand what our being is, because our being is relatively real on multiple planes of reality. Even just the place that we call so-called seated in heavenly places is just one. Here on earth is two. That's two, but there's many more. And not that they all need to be accessed at any given time, but and the nous is, I will say, following that, the nous is also going to help us map our being. Because we have to actually understand what our soul is, what our mind is, what our body is, our subtle body, so on and so forth, that Paul talks about. And all these sort of things, they can actually be felt. They can be intuited inside of ourselves. They're accessible. And one of the ways you can access them is through the nous. But you have to know what your nous is. You got to be able to sense it. But a lot of you are already experiencing the nous without even knowing it, with again your journey that you're on, and this sort of opening that you're going through, and this sort of questioning that you're going through. And the questions are good. For Jesus wowed the teachers of the law, not with his answers, but with his questions. Questions are deconstruction. Questions are reconstructing principles that allow us to peer into the nature of reality. So if we don't ask questions, we'll never get to where we need to go. Questions are the most beautiful thing. Obviously, sometimes questioning can be problematic, but for the most part, when we use it in a healthy way, it allows us to get to the depth of where we need to go. They become the vehicle of transformation. So one of the vehicles of transformation. So be encouraged. You know, there's a lot going on. And don't be afraid. You know, don't let fear shut you down. Don't let fear shut you down. Continue to open yourself to love. Continue to open yourself up to the nature and being of Christ. Continue to open yourself up to the saints. Continue to open yourself up to the kingdom of heaven, or as I like to call it, the ecology of heaven. Either as we continue to feel into this, as we continue to sense into it, we will continue and we will open up to the sort of truth that we need to peel back, because we have to create a healthy living organism again in the body. We have to become more effective. We have to become more loving. We have to become more insightful, and all of these different things, not due to a sort of pressure, but due to the fact that this is our role, is why we're here, part of the reason, at least for those that want to be part of that sort of thing. So, you know, stay encouraged. Don't give up. It's time we go to the next level, and the next level is going to require new levels of questions. It's going to require new levels of understanding that are going to break down barriers and create new partnerships and brotherhoods and peace and love and connections. But it's also going to create offense. And just know that that's a nature of these sort of things as well. It's going to create an offense towards those that are still locked in old modes or paradigms. We're not losing Jesus. We're not losing, you know, these sort of things. But what we're gaining is a whole new understanding. And we're not talking about, you know, I don't even want to say some of the stuff, but we're not talking about a whole bunch of just low-level things. What we're talking about is actual transcendent and immanent realities that explain and help us navigate the sort of world that we're in, and will allow us to partner and connect to the ecology of the heavenly realm and all of its diversity. So there's new paradigms of thinking coming, and they're going to challenge a lot of people. I want to go into those, probably go into those in the Nous chat. Whole new sets of paradigms that's coming. And ways in which we are going to understand the divine being, the way we're going to understand who we are in our heart, the way we're going to understand our nature. But I will say this, continue to work on yourself, continue to work on your heart, because more and more of these gates within your being will continue to open. That will allow you to connect and unfold to the realities that you're searching for. So we have to continue to become more sensitive, more conscious, more aware of who and what we are. So, thank you guys. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. Shalom.